All right, everybody. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves and you had a very nice speaker with all the lovely little bites that our chefs have prepared for you. We are starting with the Women Who Qlik panel. Women Who Qlik is a community that started about 3 years ago. The idea actually came from one of these sessions here in Lund. And in the last 3 years, it has actually grown to a community with amazing women. Men are also welcome, who actually share their experiences within this amazing data community. So, women, would you like to join me here? Right, so they had to do something different, right?
It was because of the mics. I felt like I was a Backstreet Boy, so I just we had to.
Well, thank you, ladies, for joining me here. I would like to do a quick introduction round, and then we will go into our panel session. So, Madelon, would you like to start?
So I'm Madelon Jansen. I'm from the Netherlands, and I work with a company called Victa. I'm a partner ambassador with Qlik since last year. So it's my second time here in Lund.
Steph?
Yeah, it's Steph Robinson. So I work at JBS in the USA, in Colorado. I've been a Luminary for 6 years, I think. Yeah, and I was part or kind of pivotal in the idea of Women in Qlik at Lund 6 years ago with myself, Gwen, and Priscilla. So yeah, great to be here.
So I'm Viv Parsons. I'm from the UK and I work for South Central Ambulance Service. This is my second year as a luminary. So I work for the NHS, as most people probably know it.
I'm Angelika Klidas from the Netherlands. I work for a company called Business Data Challengers. I think I was 5 years luminary, 4 years partner ambassador, and also an educator ambassador. And really love to be here.
I'm Londa Devlin. I work for IAWG in the United States. This is my second year as a luminary, my first year in Lund.
Welcome. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So, first question, and this is a question for Viv and Steph, because these ladies can talk for England. Okay, so we've actually reduced it to a couple of ladies per question to keep it within time. So the question that we have for you is, how would you define language literacy in the context of your organization? So, Viv, would you like to start?
So yes, so language literacy for me is to make sure the projects run better. So I work with clinicians. So, sorry, I'm just going to check my notes. It's about being able to communicate across teams. My guys are very good tactically. They will pick you up, they'll fix you, but they're not very good at communicating. And for me, this is about not having that conversation we've probably always had, that's lovely, but that's not what I wanted. But it's exactly what you asked for. So that language is about having to have an educated conversation and being able to get the project right the first time.
And I think for me, so I think we first started discussing language literacy in Women Who Qlik. We were talking about, kind of women and men. And in the workplace, the difference in a conversation where a woman can kind of state something very clearly, like, oh, I think this is it. And then you'll get a guy will have a different process. And so you get this really interesting difference between how men and women communicate. That's kind of how we started. And then I was kind of thinking about it in the context of where I work. And I had a great example literally last Thursday. We had an issue where Snowflake wasn't talking to one of our business units. And I looked at it. I mean, I've been working in that Qlik space for a long time. I am an expert in our Qlik space. And I looked and I said, yeah, that's a firewall. So I don't have access to change or fix a firewall, so I had to go with the network team, all men in the network team. So, my thing is, my gut instinct, because I've done this so long, is it's a firewall, someone's changed a rule, we have a problem, we've got to fix it real fast. 8 hours later, 5 guys from the network team went through a very long process, which I sat with them on the call and came back and said, hey, Steph, someone changed the firewall rule. And I think that is the literacy. That's kind of what I see in the workplace.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Viv, or you okay?
No, I think it is that language, that being able to do it. So for me, being able to talk the same language, we convert everything to food. If you've ever known paramedics like food. I was once asked for an uppy-downy chart. So that's the comprehension I have. So what we do is I have smartygrams, which are scatter plots. I have donuts, and my latest one is the burnt toast diagram, which is the tree diagram or the heat map, and that is burnt toast, especially when it's in orange. So it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're both talking the same language. If that works for them, then it's absolutely fine. But I do draw the line at uppy downy charts.
Great to hear. Next question I have for Madelon and for Steph. What kinds of communication or language barriers do you commonly see between teams, and specific to the field of data, analytics, and AI?
Do you want to go first on this one?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So within our company, we have a couple of different teams. Some are technical teams, like the team that I am on. And for example, we have a team for purely business consultancy. And what we've noticed is that those teams speak a completely different language, where there has emerged like this plethora of abbreviations, the 3-letter abbreviations that can actually be anything. It could be the name of a client, it could be a product, it could also be a new internal project that we didn't even know existed. And we as the technical colleagues, we have a very hard time keeping up with what's happening, especially when you're in a meeting and someone calls out like 3 of those abbreviations in one sentence, and we're completely stuck and we forget to even ask what it's about because we're lost. So I think that's the biggest one that we encounter.
And I think one of the things that we were discussing as a group, and anyone else chime in if you think. So we were also discussing, I was talking with Annalie, one of the ladies I work with, and we were having lunch, and she said, do you think, we're talking about literacy and data and different things that we were doing, and she said, do you think with the introduction of AI that we're going to start dumbing down our kids? And I'm really worried about my kids. Yep. And we had this really interesting conversation about, yes, I have people on my team now who aren't really wanting to learn SQL, and they're not really wanting to learn how to code a Qlik app. They want to go to ChatGPT, or, eventually, it'll be within Qlik, but they go to Chat, or maybe it is, I'm sorry if it is. But they'll go to ChatGPT or, Copilot, and they'll say, hey, can you write this particular script, or can you write this expression for me? And they're not learning the complete basic of writing that expression, we always learned, I can put this in the bracket and the curly bracket, and that, and I have that in my head on how to write set analysis. I just know it. I've done it for so long. But, now I'm seeing a lot of guys coming in and developing and across our businesses where their literacy level within data and within scripting is dropping. And then the product they're putting out, quite interestingly, is not as good. And we'll go back and we'll say, hey, can you relook at this? It's not optimized. Oh, okay. And they go back to maybe ChatGPT and they'll throw their code in and go, oh, can you optimize this for me? Well, that really doesn't always work. And I think this is a really interesting thing because we have so much opportunity with AI, so much opportunity, but I think we have to be very aware with data and with, would you call it IT literacy, especially with people up and coming in this industry, of having them really understand, what is behind that. You can't just have something write it, and it's not always correct. So I think that's a really interesting topic.
Thank you. The next question is for Angelika, Londa, and for Madelon again. Where do you see the biggest gaps in language literacy, i.e. technical language, business language, and cultural nuances? Angelika, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. Where I see the biggest gap, it's between departments, because departments are, especially at the bigger organizations where I work, it's siloed, right? And they all have their own language. So the first thing that I do as a strategic advisor, from a business perspective, is get them on the table and work towards the same language. And I think that helps to embrace the new world of data and AI, in this case, for the union that I work for.
Yeah, and to follow up with that, my company has acquired several different companies, and they allow them to continue to work as their own previous entity, which even in the accounting department, for example, they have their own set of language. So even accounting doesn't align. And then we also see that they tend to, when we're gathering requirements from them, they tell us what they need. They don't tell us the global big picture of how they're going to be using the data. So when I bring that information to my technical team, they're very literal. They want this, this, and this. And then we bring it back to the teams, and that's not what they want. That's what they said they want, but it's not what they want. So you see those language differences across the technical teams, even across individual business units.
And how do you overcome that then?
Questions.
Yes.
Lots
Questioning.
of detailed questions. I actually 2 weeks ago sat with our accounting team for about 2.5 hours because they told me that they needed every single contract for the last year to give to our auditors. I'm like, why do you need that? Because that's what they need. What are you using it for? So you get down to it. And really what they needed is the summation of the contracts. Does it match our financials?
Yeah, exactly. And when I do those kind of sessions, what I do is I use AI to help me to form Socratic interviewing questions so that I can get the problem clear, but also build that strategy together with a common language.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that everything I want to say touches on what you guys just said. It's the silos within companies where people actually speak a different language. For example, the tech teams and the business teams. And I think overcoming it is having the courage to actually ask, what do you mean by saying that? Because maybe I do have some added value for it, but I don't know what you're asking specifically. So just ask for some explanation about a question would be a good thing.
But also do trainings, right? Like if I have the tech guys and I'm rather technical, but not really hands-on technical, but I can understand the language. So what I try in those sessions is as well train the tech guys to learn to speak the same language so that they explain the things that they did in programming the dashboards, that they explain it in common language, and I help them with that. So it's also a kind of educational element that you can add in your conversations.
I think you can also get a bit of an interesting thing. Like, so where I work for a Brazilian company. There's a lot of Portuguese spoken. And then there's a lot of people who speak Portuguese and English, and their accents are very, very thick. And you get used to it. But I have, so I have a couple of people, like our CIO, he's Brazilian. And I've had conversations with him, like I've explained a whole thing to him, and he's like, yep. And he's a lovely guy, and we get on really well, and I've explained a whole thing to him, he's like, yep. And then I said, so what do you think? And he's like, what? And I realized that I'm Australian, and when I'm excited, I speak very fast. And he has his Portuguese accent, and he doesn't understand when I'm talking really fast. He really does not understand, but he's polite enough. Like, he's like, I don't want to upset Steph. So, I'm going to be there and I'm going to nod my head and, then I'm going to go on to my next thing. And so one of the things that I've really started to do with that is, going, you didn't understand my Australian. And then he'll laugh, okay, what did you want to say? And then I'll just sit down in the chair and then we'll have the conversation. Sometimes just calling out what is going on, I think, is really, really important.
And I think also that is a cultural thing. I was talking with you about it yesterday. The culture shift also, because we work global in various languages and we have different cultures. So that is also that we have to consume and learn how to work with the different cultures, the different styles.
Yes.
Yeah. You had that thing.
Yes.
Yeah, you told me your story yesterday.
Yes. I'm working in my last company. I had to work with some people in Saudi Arabia, and they did not want to talk to me because I was a woman. And breaking that barrier was very difficult. But somehow I did it, and 5 of the 10 gentlemen that I was working with actually friended me on Facebook after the project was done. So it's difficult to hit those different cultural barriers where it's, that is their culture. It's not mine, but how do you walk that line?
See, mine isn't culture from languages. Mine is same thing, problem, but for me, it's because I'm not clinical. Work for the NHS, and people always say, oh, you work for the ambulance service, are you a paramedic? No. So I've had the same, but I've had somebody walk into an office. They do love their epaulettes, and refused to talk to me because I was neither a man or was wearing epaulets. That doesn't stop me being good at my job. My director at the time, very high-ranking male in the organisation, said, if you're not prepared to speak to her, I suggest you leave the office now. And he did. But it shouldn't be like that. And that's working with fire, Coast Guard. Don't get it with police, because when you go up the ranks with the police, the higher the ranks you are, you don't wear a uniform. So if you're not wearing a uniform, you're respected. So I've had to, battle with lack of things on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. The next question, what challenges have you been faced with regarding language literacy in your organization? What strategies have you put in place to overcome these? And can you share examples? And this is a question for Viv, Angelika and Londa.
Okay. Well, I think I just said it in the answer of the previous question. I think it's very, very important in my projects that I get the teams together, the people from different departments, try to break the silos, try to think as a chain, because everything is a chain. If I work with the customer services, they have every day the calls from our members, right? They have to write down the elements correctly in the CRM because we have to extract it and report it. But if the beginning is wrong, the end will be wrong as well. So it's a chain of elements that we have to work on. And that's what I do. Teach.
I think for me, it's about, we were discussing it,
Yeah.
about the conscious and unconscious bias. So I face that. So I would say to my guys, your on-scene time's gone up. Now, it's 3 minutes. It might not seem a lot to a lot of people, but we have a response time of 7 minutes. So 3 is a lot. So when I say that, they'll say, things like, the hospital was bad, or I'm conveying more patients. And it's great because I can use Qlik, pick it up and go, no, and no. But they're preconditioned to start thinking about the things that go wrong, rather than asking the questions about, that's interesting that you've said that, why? So we did information literacy. We did it with Qlik Learning. And we developed a program for that. And as part of that, we did a whole section on bias. And I found a wonderful thing done. It was at Harvard University. So Harvard University did something where they got radiographers. And they gave them a scan of a set of lungs and asked them to look at it and tell them what they saw and then present it back. What they didn't tell them was on one of the lungs, there was a picture of a gorilla. And you'd be surprised how many people didn't notice the gorilla. Now, that's not because they're bad radiographers. It's because they spend all their time looking for things that are wrong. And that's the same as my guy. They know that we queue at hospitals, so it's a problem. But it blinds you to seeing other things, and it blinds you from asking questions. So that's, for me, it's breaking down that barrier to say, but why? What did we do about it and what's happened? So after the information literacy program, we had the head of our contact centre. So that's the control room where you ring 999. And on the back of this, being able to have an educated conversation, we dropped our average handling time. So that means we were more efficient in triaging our calls, which means we can answer the call better because we talk to a patient every 12 seconds. So dropping our handling time means we're there to talk to the patients more often. So it really does work, but you've got to, call it out.
Call it out. Yeah.
Call it out.
And think out of the box, out of the standards that you're used to, right?
Yes.
Look further.
Yeah, I just need to, again, ask the right questions. And so many times people come to me and try to solution engineer their own problem. And when you sit with them, you really need to get to the basis, the foundation of what are you using this data for? And how can I help you achieve that in the most efficient way? Don't tell me what you think you need. Let's identify what you need, and then we'll go from there and give you what you the best thing to run your business.
Great. I think that's very useful for everyone in the room, I hope. One last question for all of you. We have time for that, our bonus question. If you could implement one change tomorrow, what would that be?
Mine's a little funny one, but I would give everyone those new Apple EarPods, you know, that do all the languages, so that everyone can just dial in whatever language they need. As a little bit of a funny one, but I really do think I'd like to change things a little culturally, so people do just take the time to really listen and take the time to understand that you can maybe not be understanding what is right in front of you. I think that would be
I think similar for me, it's not being afraid to say you don't get it.
exactly.
And by saying that you don't get it, it's respecting everybody as an SME in their own skill set. I respect the paramedics for their ability to go out and pick people up. So respect me that I can do the best for you to give you the data. But what you'll find is that, well, I can do Excel. And it's like, that's fine. I can pick up a first aid kit. It's the same argument, and it really gets them thinking. So it's just that ability to say, we're all SMEs and we're all here for the same thing. And for me, it's about patient care and response times. And I might not be out on the front line, but I like to think my work does go some way to save seconds, make a difference, and save somebody's life. Other people don't think that we make that difference. I really like to think that we do that. So it's just that respect, really, and it's that culture.
Yep, exactly. What I would like is, I think, give time to learn, because usually organizations and people in organizations they are crazy with their agenda. Everybody is talking, and actually you can't get your hands on the work that you have to do. And not even for study, for trainings to learn to work with the soft skills, the hard skills. And I think giving time to employees to learn, I think that would be my gift. Yeah.
Mine would be to have a data dictionary and business glossary, so everyone is speaking the same language. That would be the ultimate thing. And have shadow IT also adhere to that business glossary, so we are actually speaking the same language and understanding each other.
What I would like to change to actually encourage all of these things would be to have translation be recognized as an actual skill from both ends of the spectrum. So being able to explain what you mean to everyone in any kind of language, and being able to ask the question and just ask for an explanation.
Exactly.
So have it be an actual skill that's recognized and not just a given that someone has to be able to do.
Excellent. Well, thank you all very, very much. We are just about at time. So if any of you have questions for these ladies, please ask them to them in the fika, the next fika this afternoon, or during lunch, of course. And thank you, ladies, for being here with us and sharing all your interesting insights.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.